Hey, we're Attention Trading, a full-service digital marketing agency that helps small and mid-sized businesses with their strategic marketing efforts. From websites, design, social media, and ads, our goal is to create marketing alignment for our clients. You may not realize it, but the majority of businesses lack a solid marketing strategy and plan. That's where we come in. On this show, we talk with business owners, founders, and marketers to uncover the secrets of their success when it comes to starting and scaling a business. This is the Attention Trading Podcast. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Attention Trading Podcast, where we talk with CEOs, owners, founders, and marketers about how they grow, scale, and operate their business. My name is Max Lowy. I'm here with my co-founder of Attention Trading, Steve Alves. We're thrilled to welcome Connor Roelke, the visionary behind NOBL Beverages. Today, we'll dive into the evolution of NOBL Beverages, the lessons learned along the way, and what it takes to carve out a unique path in the beverage world. Connor, welcome to the Attention Trading Podcast.
Yeah, guys, thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, of course. No, we're stoked to have you here. I want to jump right in, and I'd love for you to give our listeners a little bit of background about you. Tell us about your journey of founding NOBL Beverages, if you can.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, so we're coming up on our 10-year anniversary. I'm not going to tick over this year, but next year is going to be our 10-year anniversary. So it's been quite a ride. I grew up in New Hampshire, and in New Hampshire, especially in the winter, as a lot of people might be listening to this in the winter, not a lot of things to do in the cold other than maybe drink beer, right? So I was doing a lot of homebrew beer production in college, and if anyone's doing the math on that, I was definitely 21. But we were doing a lot of brewing and really getting super involved in the beer space. And it was such a cool time to be part of that. But ultimately, when I was graduating college, the writing was kind of on the wall already that the craft beer industry was not likely to continue the growth rate that it was on. But I really wanted to stay involved in that space. So UNH offers a Shark Tank style product pitch, business plan pitch competition called the Holloway. And I had kind of run out of time. It was senior year. I was going to graduate. And I was like, hey, I got to enter this thing. And, my current best idea is a cold brew coffee business, which was happening pretty aggressively on the West Coast. So I wrote up my business plan, went through the motions, presented at the competition, made it all the way till the finals, and got, I think, second or third place. I didn't win, but that's okay. I got over it. But the cool thing was through this pitch competition of cold brew coffee in kegs, I got enough feedback from local community members, end customers, investors, etc., that the product was actually really, really good, and people felt like the business had legs. So I put in this is hopefully the only time we'll be able to do this, but I put in my notice with a job that I hadn't even started yet. Which had lined up for out of school.
One way to do it.
Exactly. So I quit early, and I said, "Hey guys, thanks so much for the opportunity, but I'm young, I'm stupid, and I've got just enough money in the bank to try to make this a real business. So I'm going to give it a shot." So that was back in 2015, and really the story since then has been pretty wild, and how we've gotten to the point where we're at now. But that's the origin anyway.
Awesome. How did you originally start it? Were you like bootstrapping and trying to scrounge cash from family and friends and anybody you could do, or did you have a big enough, war chest to be able to start this off yourself?
Yeah, my joke is that I think the winner of that competition used the prize money, which was 10 grand, by the way, to just throw the best rager of all time. And I used my prize money, which was $3,500, to pay off my credit card bill. So no, I was fortunately not born into piles of cash. There's no war chest here. And although I worked pretty hard during high school and college, it was, friends and family, short dollars. The problem with brewing and the problem with our industry is that it's incredibly capital intensive. Even in the early days when we were making kegs of coffee that were maybe 20 kegs in a batch, it was still 50 grand in capital just to get all the stainless hardware and the kegs and all the brewing equipment to do that. It was an expensive start, and to be honest, it's been a pretty expensive business since.
I can imagine. So, which is interesting because when I first started working with you guys personally, I hadn't known your reach across kind of New England and where you guys are at. And I was actually traveling on Cape Cod for a vacation with my wife. And we just stopped at some random hole in the wall coffee place, donut place. And I saw it sitting on the wall. I was like, that's crazy. It's literally right there. And I'm like, good for them. That's awesome.
No, for sure. Yeah. So, I mean, we started hyperlocal. The first brewery, if you want to call it that, was half of a photography studio. So it was 800 square feet. 400 square feet was sort of my walled off section. And it was just big enough that you could stand in front of a 3-bay sink and, wash your kegs or whatever. And then you could turn around and reach the walk-in. Like you couldn't actually move. You just made a circle. Exactly. Yeah. So, and for us, right, like we could make 20 kegs and we bought a little Ford Transit van because nobody would distribute for us. It was like, who are these guys? What are they doing? This is a stupid idea. Like, screw these guys. So we bought our own van. It had enough weight capacity to hold our, 40 kegs a day or whatever our delivery was. And we obviously started super local on the seacoast of New Hampshire. But as we got further into Boston and into Portland, Maine, it became really obvious that there was so much volume there. And then once we had a taste of that, it was like, well, yeah, Cape Summer volume, to your point, it's like, 3 months out of the year, this is going to support our business and get us another 3 months of runway. So the geography expansion was a little bit accidental, but worked out pretty well in the end.
I feel like I can imagine you like taking that van and just traveling all over, trying to both sell and deliver coffee for months on end. So was it just like you? Did you have a founder? Did you have a small team to start off with?
Yeah, so our first employee, man, I wish I had a photo of this. We were doing growlers at the time because, again, this is 10 years ago when craft beer was really cool. So we were doing growler fills, and the first order of growlers we bought was like 4 pallets or something. So this 53-foot box truck stops traffic in downtown Newmarket, New Hampshire, which is like population, maybe 5,000 people. And this guy from the restaurant next door is outside, smoking a cigarette or whatever. And he's like, hey, man, you need help? You need help? And I'm like, I need help today. And I need help every single day from this point forward. So like, if you want a job, man, like, let's do it. So my first employee was hired literally off the street, ended up working for us for, I think, almost 4 years in sales, production, distribution, all that kind of stuff. And then actually my random freshman year roommate was working for Hershey, the chocolate company at the time. And he was employee number 3. And it was like, I can't really pay you very much, but why don't you come on? Let's give this thing, 6 months, see if it works, and hopefully it turns into something. And so super scrappy, very small team. But to your point, it was a lot of me driving the truck around for a long time. It still is, man. It's like you get enough call outs, you find me on that truck. Absolutely.
You gotta do what you gotta do. That's awesome. That's pretty funny. The first employee story, just literally found him off the street.
Yeah.
That's good. Can you go into a little bit of the product line? I guess you said you started with craft beer and now, dive into everything else that you guys are doing right now.
Sure. Yeah. So this is a decent kind of expansion on the origin story too. So when we started, it was one SKU. It was cold brew coffee in a keg, and it was NOBL branded. And in our local community, that went really well. It was people liked the product. We sourced really high quality coffee. But as we got sort of further outside of our geography, it became really obvious that the relationships that roasters locally in New England had with their customers was so strong that we needed to partner with all of these local coffee companies. So we were buying coffee from, the George Howells, Barringtons, the Coffee by Designs of the world. And those guys were then co-branding our kegs to be, roaster/NOBL Beverages. So the SKU count became just one SKU of coffee to, I think, maybe 11 or 12 partnerships by 2018. And then, now we had kind of scaled up the operation. We moved into a new, brewing facility in Exeter, which was about 3,000 square feet. And at that point, we were into some office buildings, getting into some new customer channels, and tea was the thing. It was like, I love what you guys do. How about cold brew tea? And for us, it was all the same equipment. So our product manager and creative director, Andy, just took that and ran with it. He was sourcing, incredibly high quality teas. We were doing cold brew processes, being fresh ingredients, so fresh juices, spices, all the things that made the cold brew coffee line, so good. And, from that point forward, it was like, okay, we can't be NOBL Coffee anymore. This is NOBL Beverages. And that kind of pivoted into our second phase of growth, which was into co-packing, into our own line expansion, and just trying to support what we felt was a really underserviced market, which was, really fresh, locally produced products on the non-alc side.
Who's the mixologist of terms of, turn of phrase for all this? Because like I imagine not just taking coffee and putting it into a process and coming out with cold brew coffee, especially when it comes to the teas. Like there's got to be something where you guys are trying and testing and seeing how things, like who's the brainchild for most of the flavors?
Mad scientist. That's what
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think you'd like to be called that too. No, Andy Upton is our marketing director, creative director, and also product wizard, for lack of a better title. So
and photographer.
Exactly, and photographer and videographer. Well, the funny thing too, very similar to my story about Ross and the unloading the pickup or the box truck. Andy at the time was working somewhere locally, and I was like, "Hey man, I can put you on full time. I need like half a day a week of marketing and 4.5 days a week of production or driving or whatever it was." And his story throughout the first couple of years was like, first it was half a day, then it was a day, then it was 3 days, and now he's full time in the creative side of the business. But he's made or formulated almost every single product that we've ever produced, and the guy is just a genius. I mean, the products are incredible. The quality is really, really, truly remarkable.
That's pretty cool. Also, it's cool that like your employees are doing multiple roles, especially like that role, marketing wise, as well as figuring out the science around and the flavors, so that like it definitely takes a lot of skill and to kind of separate those two into pockets of the day. But I think as a creative, I guess it just works for them, right? Like that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it honestly breaks up the monotony of it too sometimes. Like I don't know how long you can stare at editing like an Instagram reel or something before you're like, okay, let me taste something or do something different.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So you talked a little bit about partnerships with roasters, and is it only when you're talking partnerships, is there any other brand that you're working with or kind of company that you're working with outside of like a coffee shop or a roaster?
Yeah, so one of the main things that makes us different, and probably the main thing that makes us different from most of the products you guys find on the shelves today, is in the cold brew coffee space, all of the products being produced by like La Colombe, High Brew is another really popular brand, Chameleon Cold Brew. So all of those products are processed with a technique called retort, which is ultra high heat. It's like 250 degrees. And what they're doing is they're pressure cooking the can or the bottle to make it sterile. So, this is a weird answer to a question about partnerships, but the reason I'm going down this road is all of our products are made with this ingredients first philosophy. And generally speaking, the best products you can find are literally in your backyard. So, some of our partnerships are really, really deep, again, with some of our roaster partners that have been around for, at this point, 7 or 8 years. And we're providing, their roasted coffee that, they've imported, that they're the experts at roasting. And then on the tea side, our snickerdoodle latte is, our chai latte is made with a chai from a company called White Heron right here in Portsmouth. So, you can go chase cost, you can go chase, margin improvements or whatever, but it's like these ingredients make up a considerable portion of the product cost, but it's not worth it to just like cut corners. It just doesn't make any sense. So yeah, we do use, juices from large producers if we can't get in-season orange juice or whatever it is at the time. But for the most part, all of our products can be traced pretty locally at the end of the day.
I want to ask a question about the packaging itself, because the majority of your products are in that more cylinder can, right? It's kind of like a shorter, 12-ounce can or maybe 16-ounce can. Is that an environmental thing? Is that a avoidance of microplastics? Like what's the play there for you guys?
For sure. I mean, I've always loved cans. I think the change in the industry across the board, both in alc and non-alc, towards cans is a great change. It's a much more environmentally friendly packaging type than really everything else. Even glass, which is super renewable, is also requires so much energy to.
It's so heavy.
Yeah, exactly, and heavy shipping concerns. Tons of issues there, safety issues. So yeah, primarily it's a sustainability piece. I think that people would like to see the products in glass so they could look at what they're buying, but it's just not worth the sacrifice. And I mean, plastic is just the devil. I mean, it really is. We have one product line in plastic, which is our juice line. And the only reason that we do that is because it's the only format that we can process using high pressure pasteurization, which doesn't harm the flavor, doesn't really change the nutritional value. And it's those types of compromises that we have to look at and say, okay, what does Noble Beverages stand behind? Product quality. Okay, number two, sustainability. So our kegs obviously are stainless and recyclable, refillable. We just do the best we can with what we got.
I mean, it's a not to turn a phrase, but that's a noble cause.
Very good.
Harder than that joke.
Lots of those.
We've got to that point of the episode. So I actually have a question. So I was on the website earlier, and so obviously you have like the Noble branded stuff and products, but then you also do all the co-packaging. As far as growth goes, as far as vision goes, what's the goal? We've had a client before who was a co-packer, but then they also had their own brand, and it was interesting to see like where they were focusing more effort on.
Sure.
And it would be interesting to hear kind of your take on that.
Yeah, no, I didn't catch that episode, so I got to go back in the archives and listen to it. Is everyone sick of hearing COVID stories by now, or is it my turn to tell?
It's your turn.
All right, cool. COVID was a bad time for a lot of people, and that's the understatement of the century. But for us, it was really about the worst possible timing from a business perspective that you could have had. So we moved, if you remember in the beginning, we had 400 square feet in Newmarket, 3,000 square feet in Exeter. In 2019, we started building out our current facility in Seabrook, which is 35,000 square feet. So we literally were making a 10x growth jump. And we moved in on like March 3rd of 2020. So, here we are in this, basically no expense spared within reason facility that was going to be our, be all end all for the next 10 years. And, mid-March comes around, this COVID thing starts to get talked about a little bit more. And all of a sudden our order books had dropped from like thousands of kegs a week to 2, I think, or 3 maybe, like 2 of which got canceled after the fact.
Oh.
So I'm sitting in this beautiful, shiny new facility, staring out at like 30 people going, oh my God, like I am literally responsible for figuring out how to make payroll. And I'm not going to say that government assistance wasn't part of it, because I can't imagine a worse position to be in. Like our core customer base was all of those retailers that were mandated to shut down. So it's just like hopeless, absolutely hopeless. But we had taken our brewing capabilities and expanded into some co-packing opportunities, and the business shifted 100% focus to contract packaging. So we like took all of our coffee, put it in these bag and box containers for like a wine bag and box for hospitals. We like got rid of all of our inventory, and it was like, how many cans can we make for other people in this year? So we literally just, we figured it out enough to scrape by. PPP, et cetera, were all huge helps. And then by the end of COVID sort of started its slow and gradual wind down, and restrictions started to get lifted. The Noble branded business started to come back. And within a year or two, it was truly neck and neck. Like the revenue split was 50-50. The team was split almost the same way. We had dedicated packaging employees. We had dedicated Noble employees. And now the best part of our growth is that we get to kind of play both sides and cater towards whatever the goals are for that year. So we just finished a huge expansion on the packaging side in 2024 that has quadrupled our capacity. So we've got some room to fill some space, which is great. We can run about 35 million cans a year now, which is a pretty crazy number. But the fun part, again, is like all the tanks get bigger to support the co-packing side. It's like, well, great. Now we have more capacity for the Noble branded side, and we can kind of play that seesaw. So definitely a challenging thing for a management team to try to figure out how to deal with both of those companies. But it's been a blast, and it's truly what saved our business.
That's what great entrepreneurs do, man. That you saw a challenge. Hopefully you didn't freak out, right? You thought,
I only cried in my car once.
That's a good week.
Yeah, for sure. Exactly. Yeah. Once a week. Right.
So yeah, that's what it's all about, man. It's about seeing the opportunities in front of you. And, I think the biggest thing you said there is it wasn't, what am I going to do? How am I going to not fail this? You said, I have all these people that I'm responsible for, and I'm here for them specifically. Right. And I'm here to sustain this thing so that we can all have a life together. Right. So like, I think that's a key thing that you pointed out there. Like you didn't start this off with, how am I going to survive? It's how can we survive? And that's a big thing of our company, where we always talk about we, it's never I. right? Like it's a sum of all the parts.
Yeah, no, and I mean it was such a heroic effort from our team too. I mean, there were people, we were working until 3, 4 in the morning, and then like one guy would go take a nap on the couch, and he'd be responsible for startup the next day. It was awesome. I mean, it was not awesome at the time, but like from a team building activity, we've got employees that have been here basically for 7 or 8 years now that have seen all of these changes and are just incredible individuals as a result.
Yeah. I mean, it stems down to the culture that you've created, the values that, are part of your brand. And, we always look at that. We always try to, for us, we'd love to be able to pick our clients and find the ones that are fun to work with, that also match what we're looking to do and do good work in this world. Right. How have your values worked or have been influential within your marketing efforts and your sales? Like what goes into that?
Yeah, sure. The classic beverage thing to do, which I really don't blame anybody for taking this path, is grow as fast as possible, make as many things, whatever you're making, as you can, and sell the Coke or Pepsi, right? That's the playbook. And for a lot of people, you have to make a lot of compromises along the way, because you can't build a business like that without raising a tremendous amount of capital. So all of a sudden, if you started your business on, I'm going to make the highest quality, root beer around, right? We're going to go peel the bark off the trees together and whatever has to happen. All of a sudden, you've got, a board who's saying, I want your cost of goods to be 3 cents a can. And the only way to get there is like, some
chemicals.
Exactly. Yeah. Like some of the drums that we get in, it's just like, what's that? I haven't seen that hazmat logo before. Like that's a new one, right? And I get it. I get why they're making those compromises. And for us, because we built the distribution business locally here, because we built the production facility, we don't really have to compromise in those same ways. And it's my challenge to communicate like, hey guys, we've got to grow the business to be able to have resources and opportunities so that we can continue to not sacrifice our core values, which is really hard to do. And, it is at the end of the day, a business, and we don't have, super deep pockets. We don't have a roster of crazy investors. So we have to be really conscious of our business decisions and make sure that we're building an environment where we don't need to make compromises. Tricky thing to do, harder, much easier to say than it is to do in practice, but it's worked.
Imagine how tempting it is too. I mean,
for sure.
For anybody, I mean, like you are standing strong with your ethics, your morals, and the thing you ultimately wanted to produce, right? Like this is your thing. Now, with that said, what is the goal of the company? Like, what do you want to do here? Do you want it? I mean, you've already started really small. You've expanded. You expanded during COVID. You've just expanded again in 2024, right? So what's the next thing for you guys? Is it different beverage lines? Is it expanding existing ones?
Yeah. So I think we're really happy with the product mix right now. We cover really the vast majority of like consumer needs in our segments. So I think we have some of the best teas around. I think we have some of the best coffees around, certainly on the latte lines. So the product lines are great. We may add a little bit to that, but right now it's just expanding the reach of what we feel like are basically perfect beverages beyond New England through third-party distribution. So we've really liked to build our base here, but it's just not as fun to travel to like the Midwest and be like, oh, you guys have never heard of us. That's kind of too bad. Like, I really would love to give you some and be able to expand this reach. We have really a tremendous amount of production capabilities in our existing plant. We're not building anything anytime soon. I think this is kind of a boring year for us where we just get better at everything. And sometimes that's okay.
Yeah. Do it again, do it better. One of our guests, that's what he always says. Do it again, do it better.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's nothing wrong with getting better at your craft. And especially, I guess, when it comes to flavor, like there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. And just, sometimes it's, expansion is what kills you, right? It's like you just tried a little bit too hard. You went a little too fast and got caught under, out from underneath your skis. So
we always say it's awesome to grow, but we want to grow smart. We don't want to grow and then you're growing for the wrong reasons, or there's no strategy in place, and then you got to do layoffs or anything like that. So it's nice that you're able to kind of take that moment and understand, like, okay, if we want to grow, this is what we need to do. Really put things in place so you're just doing it the most effective, responsible way possible. It's nice to hear that.
We don't hear that too often. That responsible version, I mean, not from our guests in particular, but you just see some of these companies who just have these overlords above them who are trying to get to that 3%, right? They're like, hey, it needs to cost 3 cents on the dollar for everything you produce. And you're just sitting there going, I guess line up all the chemicals and we'll just splash it into some water and call it a day. So it's good to know that, you're taking that.
Well, we certainly had periods of growth that were unsustainable. So I think we just saw it happening and it was like, okay, we got through that, but let's not do that again. It's not even good for the people working here.
Yeah.
And,
well,
yeah. So speaking in this kind of vein, like Max and I both, we both have charities that we work with. Attention Training specifically has a charity we work with on a regular basis. Can you talk about some of the stuff you do for Water for a Cause?
Yeah, for sure. I think Water for, I think it was launched during Hurricane Ian, which, I think the kind of sad thing about natural disasters is unless they're really bad, everyone kind of forgets about them, which is really just a problem of our media society. Anyway, not to get on a whole tangent.
Yeah, it's a short podcast.
Yeah, for sure, exactly. So for us, we watched Hurricane Ian just absolutely devastate Southern Florida and Mid-Coast Florida, and at the time we had a customer cancel. It was like, hey, we had 5 or 6 days of production days booked, and the customer canceled, and this hurricane came through, and it was like, these guys really need water, and we have line time. Water is about as cheap as you can get, and we have cans, and let's make this thing. So that kind of kicked off an idea that had been sitting in our brains for a long time. And then after that, it was like, okay, we made a single impact to people that really needed it. How do we turn this into a more consistent, philanthropy project? So Andy kind of took that core idea and launched Water For. And the idea behind Water For is that we're just focusing on providing water to people that need it. And on a reoccurring basis, that means sort of your classic, well building projects, access projects in places that, are really struggling. And then on a, sort of on your home turf, it's like, yeah, we can just spin up water cans for basically any short-term need that's out there. And we can produce them with overstock cans, with materials that are otherwise just slotted to get recycled or thrown away. So my next challenge, which is harder than it sounds, is how to repurpose overstock brewery cans, which are literally going to be put in the landfill or recycled, into Water For projects that have no cost to us as a production facility, which means we can donate even more. It's really in its emerging stages, but we're super excited about the concept and have a lot of fun. And we've sold a lot of water, which is awesome. We donate 100% of the proceeds to these projects.
That's all.
And this is just a random question. Do you guys ever collaborate with another brand, give you sponsorship dollars to print their name on the can or something to help that?
Yeah. So the whole concept, if you, to any of those, very large universities that might be listening, the real true message is that water shouldn't be sold for a profit. So if you are, let's say you're Harvard or you're, some local university and you're spending $1 million a year on water, our offer to those universities, to those people, is pivot 100% of your bottled water sales, which is going to literally immediately help the environment, to Water For. We'll match whatever price that you're getting from Nestle, from Coke, from whoever is selling you this water, and every cent of margin, which is literally just material costs, that's the only thing that we're taking out, is donated directly to a water related costs. So for them, we're not asking people to spend more money. We'll put Harvard's name on the logo. We'll put whoever's name on the logo. And now this university is effectively contributing dollars that they've already been spending into a cause that they have is zero effort for them to support. So yeah, we'll put anybody's logo on anything. For us, it's just about like, how much of this stuff can we get out into the world? And Waller's one of the #1 most consumed beverages out there. So we got a long way to go before we can truly take over.
Interesting. My mind is like racing right now, like all of these potential customers for that brand, that model. I'm like, yes.
Because we're selling it under the NOBL brand, right? Just a standard Water For can, but like, we're only selling a couple hundred cases or whatever it is. It's like I want to sell like truckloads of this stuff because that's where the economies come in. Like we'll make it for free. Like that's our promise. We'll make it for free. The material costs, like this is not a giant pit of money. The material costs have to come out of the proceeds. But a can is, 10 cents. Like let's sell this can for 40, 50 cents. And all of that margin's going directly to a
sounds like Max and I are going to have a conversation about all the people we know shortly after this conversation.
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like this is, I mean, most really good nonprofit, good things are simple, right? And that's what it comes at. This is super simple. It's water and it's a need, it's a necessity. And so, yeah, no, it's very cool. It's very noble.
Just send us your logo as an AI and literally the water will be produced. Like that is all it is.
An applause for vector-based images. Hey.
I'd get killed for not asking. So. Yeah, send us your 100 by 100 JPEG that's been resized 400 times.
Yeah, right.
So because we are, a marketing agency, we try to always ask some marketing questions as well as not just operations business. So as far as marketing goes, is there anything that, I guess, brand wise, right? So you have the two different models or verticals that you kind of go after, your brand and then co-packing. Like, is it an even split as far as marketing dollars, budget goes, campaigns? Is there any really fun things you're able to do on either side, or has one been more fun to kind of work on?
Yeah, so our contract customers on the co-packing side are really marketing companies, selling a product, right? So we're doing all of the heavy lifting for them on production, really the hard work, so to speak, although marketing itself is a science, art and a science, certainly. So all of our marketing for NOBL, for either side of the business, is directed towards our branded side. We have, I think it's like 1/2 of a page on our website for co-packing that's like, contact us if you need a beverage made or something, right? And really for us, it's word of mouth. There's a lot of companies out there. There's a lot of plants that are producing co-packaged products, but it's just a hard thing to do, like to take somebody else's thing and make it perfectly every single time. So most of our referrals are just coming from happy customers, which is the best case scenario. On the branded side, yeah, a lot more heavy lifting. Like we're trying to tell a story about fresh products, about what it means to be fresh. Like I can guarantee, 95% of the people listening to this have never heard of the term retort before. And it's like, okay, why is that bad? And why should I care about it? It's like, well, your coffee is being cooked at 260 degrees. Like it's going to taste like crap. And yeah, burnt, all the nutritional value is going to be gone. Like this is not a good thing that, again, the big boys are using as a way to get mass distribution. Like that's not good. We shouldn't be consuming this stuff.
I mean, that sounds like an amazing Instagram post, and that sounds like an amazing LinkedIn leadership article, like short form. Sure. You know what I mean? So, Andy, if you're watching this,
he will be. Yeah. But it's like, so yeah, cool. We've covered one thing, which is like thermal processing. But, now in our plant, we're extracting coffee fresh. We can get into sourcing, we can get into all this stuff. So it's actually a really big challenge to cover the scope of what we try to do in our branding in a way that's cohesive enough to be understood. So yeah, I mean, Andy is doing the best he can, but he's got a, really, really impossible job here at NOBL, which we commend him for.
All those fun challenges.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
This whole podcast is sponsored by Andy.
Exactly. Yeah. He makes the products. He makes the marketing. He does it.
And yeah, and he connected us, so I really appreciate even that opportunity. So I have two more questions for the whole thing because we are running short on time. The first one actually comes out of the conversation we just had, just because I've seen more and more of it. I've seen more frozen hockey puck style kind of coffees that are flash frozen and they suggest that it saves all the flavors and yada yada. Is that something that y'all are be interested in? Is logistics are crazy because you need liquid nitrogen? Has it ever been a discussion point for you guys?
Yeah, we usually go on some tangents on new product lines. Cometeer, I think, was the one that really built that flash frozen coffee business. And honestly, I think the product is really good. I think it's a little bit too far out of our wheelhouse to be able to pivot to something like that. The new launch that we're really excited about is bag and box for home use. So I think in the next 3 to 4 weeks here, we'll have concentrates, lattes, all of our best-selling coffee products available in a 1 gallon bag and box that you just stick in your fridge. So super excited about that.
And so you heard that here first, right?
Exactly. Yeah. No, I probably did break a rule by unleashing that, but hey, it is what it is. And that, for us, like being able to ship things from our website directly to people's doors is huge. Our e-com site is a great way to get access to our products. So no, I think we're going to be in the brewed liquid space for the foreseeable future. I've said this a million times. We're not going to start roasting coffee. It's also an art that, I think is better left to the professionals. But who knows? I mean, in a couple of years, we might have a whole new line of something as long as it matches our values.
You never know, man. And that's a key takeaway, values. I love that aspect. So this is our final thought. And this is born out of my interest in how I've grown up over the years. And I always try to reflect back of thinking of like 38-year-old Steve. Well, yes, unfortunately, I'm 38. 38-year-old Steve, would I ever think that I would be doing today what I've been doing at age 12? So my question to you is, would 12-year-old Connor, 14-year-old Connor, whatever, would be doing what today's Connor is doing? Do you think you had any inclination that this is where you'd be?
Yeah. I would have said that I would have started a business, but there's no chance I would have said it was in this space.
Love it.
Yeah. I have an entrepreneurial family that goes back a long time, and it truly gets in your blood. But I can't say I ever would have picked beverages.
That's a good one. I think you and Max have a kindred spirit. His family is deeply entrepreneurial. So yeah. I feel that.
Yeah,
way.
I don't know what it is. It's in the water.
I don't know. It's in the water.
Exactly.
And because I'm Max's friend, I have caught that bug over the last 15 years.
Love that.
Been drinking the water.
Yep.
No, Connor, this was awesome. Steve introduced me to the NOBL brand, so it's cool to meet you and learn really more about what you've created. I think it's super awesome. It's great to watch and learn about the successes and see where you're going. I haven't seen too much in New Jersey, so we got to get it this way a little bit,
Yeah, we kind of stopped at the Connecticut-New York border, so.
Yeah, we have a lot of people here.
You certainly do. Some would say too many.
Most would say too many. Yes, that is true.
Yeah, no, we've got a couple of partnerships in the works that may make that a reality this year. So we'll keep you posted.
Very cool. Well, no, we super appreciate your time. Here's your last minute plug. Where should people go to find you, the brand? Where's the best place for them to look?
Yeah, so NOBLBeverages.com without an E, so NOBL Beverages.com has both a store locator if you're in New England. It also has an e-com shop that sells every product that we make for retail. So you can buy cases or soon to be bag-in-box coffee directly to your house. And if you're really smart, you put it on a subscription. Now I'm plugging hard. Put it on a subscription, and then you never have to worry about buying coffee again. There you go.
Love it. Set it and forget it.
Done.
Very cool. Well, Connor, it's been awesome. Until next time, we appreciate everyone listening to the Attention Trading Podcast.
Thanks, guys, very much.
That's a wrap for this episode of the Attention Trading Podcast, where we break down what's working in marketing so you can capture, convert, and keep attention. If you got something valuable today, subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. For more insights and strategies, check us out at attentiontrading.com.